The story that royal insiders hoped would never resurface has suddenly exploded back into the spotlight, because according to controversial royal biographer Tom Bower, a newly leaked party guest list may have quietly linked Meghan Markle to a social circle that overlaps with none other than Prince Andrew, and if the whispers circulating through London's elite corridors are even partially true, the implications are far more explosive than anyone expected. For years, critics and royal watchers have argued that Meghan's pre-royal life still contains what some call ghost years, mysterious gaps, unexplained connections, social circles that appeared suddenly and disappeared just as quickly once the royal spotlight arrived. Most of the time, those rumors were dismissed as gossip or coincidence. But now, Bower, a man famous for digging into uncomfortable details, is once again stirring the pot by pointing toward a single document that has allegedly resurfaced from an old private event hosted somewhere deep inside Europe's billionaire playground. The document itself sounds deceptively simple, a party guest list, just names on paper, nothing dramatic on the surface. But insiders claim that when those names are examined closely, when they are placed next to old photographs, archived event invitations, and the tangled web of elite social clubs that link Hollywood power players to European aristocrats, something strange begins to appear. Patterns, names that repeat, circles that overlap. And suddenly, Meghan Markle's name appears within a social orbit that brushes dangerously close to Prince Andrew's extended network. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, even Bower himself stops short of making a direct accusation. He doesn't claim secret meetings or hidden relationships. Instead, he does something far more unsettling for the palace establishment. He asks questions. Questions about timing. Questions about proximity. Questions about how someone moving through Hollywood's networking circles might unknowingly, or perhaps knowingly, cross paths with figures tied to one of the most controversial members of the royal family. And that's where the tension begins to build, because the alleged guest list did not come from a random dinner party or a celebrity charity gala. According to sources close to Bower's research, the list supposedly belonged to a private gathering attended by financiers, socialites, and international elites, the kind of event where invitations are whispered rather than printed, and where guest lists rarely become public knowledge, the kind of event where names matter. And according to whispers circulating among London's royal commentators, several individuals connected to Prince Andrew's wider social environment reportedly appeared on that same list, which immediately raises the question that no one in Buckingham Palace would want to hear repeated on television or splashed across front pages. How did Meghan Markle's name allegedly end up on the same document? To understand why this claim is causing such a storm, you have to rewind years before Meghan ever met Prince Harry, back when she was still navigating the complex ladder of Hollywood ambition, traveling between acting auditions, charity appearances, fashion events, and the exclusive members, clubs where entertainment, money, and influence quietly mix behind closed doors. One of those places, a name that surfaces again and again whenever royal watchers start connecting dots, is Soho House. Soho House isn't just a trendy club for actors and influencers. It has long been described by insiders as a global networking machine where celebrities mingle with billionaires, aristocrats, and political power brokers in a setting designed to look casual while quietly facilitating connections that shape careers and fortunes. And Meghan Markle was deeply embedded in that world. Photos, interviews, and social media posts from the early 2010s show her attending events, dinners, and gatherings hosted by Soho House locations across cities like Toronto, London, and Istanbul. On the surface, nothing unusual about that. Thousands of actors and creatives pass through those doors every year. But what makes the situation complicated is that Soho House has also been known to attract members of Europe's elite social circuit, including individuals who, at various points, have crossed paths with Prince Andrew's wider circle of acquaintances. Again, coincidence is entirely possible. These networks are enormous. But when investigators start comparing timelines, guest lists, and archived event invitations, the overlaps begin to feel less random, which brings us back to the mysterious document. According to Bower's research trail, the guest list allegedly surfaced from an event that took place sometime in the early 2010s when Meghan's acting career was rising, but she was still largely unknown to the British public. The gathering reportedly included financiers, European socialites, fashion executives, and a handful of entertainment figures, precisely the type of environment where ambitious newcomers often attempt to expand their networks. But buried among the dozens of names on that list were several individuals who had previously appeared in reports about Prince Andrew's extended social orbit. Suddenly, the story takes on a different shape, not a direct link, not proof of a meeting, but a shared environment, a shared room, a shared social landscape where powerful people from different different worlds occasionally cross paths without cameras, without headlines, without the careful image management that normally accompanies royal appearances. And that is exactly why the alleged document is causing so much speculation. Because if Meghan Markle attended an event where multiple figures connected to Andrew's circle were also present, it would suggest that her path through the elite networking world may have intersected with royal-adjacent figures long before she ever appeared publicly beside Prince Harry. Of course, skeptics immediately argue that this is simply how elite society works. Wealthy people attend the same events. Influencers and celebrities often share rooms with political and aristocratic figures without ever actually interacting with them. But gossip thrives not on certainty, but on possibility. And possibility is exactly what Tom Bower's latest claim has delivered. Within hours of whispers about the leaked guest list spreading across online forums and royal discussion boards, amateur investigators began digging through old photos, archived event coverage, and forgotten social media posts from the early 2010s. Some claim to have identified overlapping venues. Others believe they have spotted familiar faces appearing in background shots from luxury events in cities like Monte Carlo and London. None of it proves anything. But in the world of royal gossip, patterns are often enough to ignite a firestorm. Meanwhile, palace insiders are said to be watching the situation carefully, not because the alleged guest list confirms anything scandalous, but because of how easily narratives can spiral once certain names begin appearing in the same conversation. Prince Andrew's reputation has already been deeply damaged by years of controversy, and any suggestion, even an indirect one, that another member of the extended royal narrative might have crossed paths with figures from that environment is guaranteed to attract enormous attention. And the most intriguing part of the story may not even be the document itself, but where it supposedly came from. Because according to sources close to Bower's research, the guest list was not discovered through a random leak or anonymous tip. It reportedly surfaced while researchers were combing through archived invitations and private event records tied to a series of luxury gatherings hosted by influential European businessmen during that era, which means the document may not be the only one. And that possibility that additional records could exist is precisely what has turned a single rumor into a rapidly expanding mystery. Because if one guest list can surface after all these years, who knows what else might still be buried in forgotten archives, private collections, or the dusty corners of old society magazines waiting for someone curious enough to start connecting the dots again. And if Tom Bower is correct about one thing, it's that once curiosity starts spreading through the royal rumor mill, it rarely stops until every possible connection has been examined, especially when those connections lead into the shadowy world of elite parties, powerful billionaires, and a royal family that has spent decades trying to control exactly which stories the public is allowed to see. And now, the biggest question hanging over the entire situation is this: was Meghan Markle simply another ambitious actress moving through elite social circles? Or did her path intersect with Prince Andrew's controversial network long before anyone realized it? Because if another document appears, another guest list, another photograph, the quiet speculation surrounding this alleged leak could quickly transform into something far louder and far more difficult for the royal establishment to ignore. And once the rumor machine starts turning, it never moves quietly. The alleged guest list, whether authentic, misinterpreted, or simply exaggerated, has already done what gossip stories are designed to do. It has planted a question inside the royal narrative that refuses to disappear. Because when the name of Meghan Markle appears anywhere near the social orbit of Prince Andrew, the reaction is immediate, electric, and deeply uncomfortable for the royal establishment that has spent years trying to keep those two worlds completely separate. And that is where the story becomes even stranger. Because according to people following the trail of this alleged document, the event connected to that guest list was not just another glamorous cocktail party. It was reportedly one of those private gatherings where the guest list itself is considered more valuable than the event, and the kind of evening where billionaires introduce rising celebrities to financiers, where aristocrats mingle with fashion executives, and where deals, introductions, and alliances quietly take shape far from the public eye. These events are not rare in elite society, but what makes this one intriguing is the cluster of names that allegedly appeared together. When investigators began comparing the list with known social calendars from that time period, something curious appeared again and again. Individuals who had previously been photographed attending events linked to Andrew's broader social environment were reportedly present at the same same gathering, and suddenly the room begins to look very different. Imagine it for a moment. An elegant villa or luxury hotel suite somewhere in Europe. Champagne glasses clinking under dim lighting. Conversations flowing between investors, aristocrats, media figures, and rising celebrities trying to expand their networks. It is the type of environment where introductions happen quietly, where someone might casually meet a powerful figure without realizing how that connection could later become controversial. And that is exactly why this guest list has triggered such fascination. Because if Meghan Markle attended an event where several figures connected to Andrew's extended circle were also present, it creates a scenario where their worlds might have brushed against each other years before anyone expected. Not necessarily a meeting, not necessarily a relationship, but proximity. And in the delicate world of royal reputation, proximity alone can ignite speculation. This is precisely the territory where Tom Bower thrives. Bower has built a career examining powerful figures by assembling fragments, interviews, archived documents, old articles, forgotten photographs, and asking whether those fragments form a pattern. His critics accuse him of dramatizing coincidences, but his supporters argue that many scandals begin exactly this way, with details that initially appear meaningless until someone places them side by side. In this case, the alleged guest list is only the beginning, because as online investigators began tracing the names appearing on that document, they reportedly noticed something else. Several of those same individuals had attended charity galas, fashion events, or networking dinners where Meghan had also appeared during the early years of her career. Again, coincidence is entirely possible. But in the fast-moving world of internet speculation, coincidence rarely stays innocent for long. Within days, amateur researchers began assembling timelines that stretched across continents. London society events, Mediterranean yacht parties, Soho House gatherings, fashion launches in Toronto, luxury charity galas attended by European financiers. The picture they were attempting to build was simple but provocative. A map of elite social circles where actors, aristocrats, and billionaires occasionally share the same rooms. And once that map exists, the narrative almost writes itself. Because critics of Meghan have long argued that her rise into the royal family was not simply a fairy tale romance, but the result of strategic networking through powerful social environments. Meanwhile, her defenders insist that those claims are unfair attempts to rewrite the story of a successful actress who happened to meet a prince. The alleged guest list sits right at the center of that argument. If authentic, it could support the idea that Meghan had already been navigating elite European social spaces long before her relationship with Prince Harry became public. If exaggerated or misunderstood, it could simply represent another example of how gossip stories grow larger than the evidence behind them. Because somewhere out there, someone may still be holding another invitation, another photograph, or another guest list that could finally reveal whether this alleged connection was nothing more than a coincidence, or the first glimpse into a hidden social world that the royal family would prefer never to see dragged into the light again.